From the UNC School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering Carolina in HD, this is Carolina Week.
Solitary confinement in North Carolina prisons could be changing. Reporter Ben Smart tells us that starting this month, the State Corrections Department is partnering with the Vera Institute of Justice, a national organization that helps prison systems find better ways to treat inmates.
Joshua Panter keeps a careful eye on prison security.
I'm a correctional lieutenant here at Central Prison.
It's his job to supervise officers and keep inmates safe. Panter says restrictive housing or solitary confinement is one way the prison maintains order.
For inmates that are healthy from a mental health or medical perspective, restrictive housing has helped them to be more compliant with the facility rules.
Inmates could be locked in a cell like this one, up to 23 hours a day. For the other hour, inmates might go to an outdoor exercise room like this one. Concrete walls, dim lighting, and high windows. A scathing 2014 report from the UNC Law School says solitary confinement is torture. More than 225 pages, the authors don't mince words. Solitary confinement is ineffective at decreasing violence, preserving public safety, managing monetary resources, and violates human dignity and justice.
I'd say that it's torture and that it's very slow torture.
Prison Services attorney Elizabeth Simpson represents inmates.
Human contact is as necessary as food and water. The only time they have a human touch them is when they're being escorted, when they're in full shackles.
Public Safety Deputy Commissioner Tim Moose says there are legitimate reasons for sending an inmate to solitary.
It can be as a result of a disciplinary issue, a behavior issue, a safety issue.
The UNC Law Report explains further. The two most common disciplinary infractions are disobeying an order and profane language. These rule violations usually don't involve physical evidence. It's up to the officer's interpretation. Rehabilitation Director Nicole Sullivan says a new partnership with justice researchers is bringing change.
It's going to look very different, like programs, like very intensive programs that allow an inmate to work their way down and back into general population because they're achieving a certain milestone.
Prison officials say they aren't sure if solitary confinement is helping prisoners improve themselves. In Chapel Hill, I'm Ben Smart reporting.
The UNC Law Report also notes that the #1 complaint from inmates about solitary confinement has to do with due process when they're found guilty of prison infractions.
Many of us have seen it. A school bus stops, the stop arm goes out, and cars pass the bus anyway. Good evening, I'm Elizabeth Tew.
And I'm Kristen Lee. Thanks for joining us. Every day, drivers who break this law put kids at risk as they get on or off school buses. Susanna Black is live at the school bus lot for Chapel Hill Carborough City Schools. Susanna, there are major deterrents in place, but are they working?
A $500 fine and 5 points on your license. You think it would be enough to get drivers to stop when kids are getting on and off the bus. But every day, thousands of drivers continue to put our young people at risk.
One car after another speeding past a stopped school bus. Watch closely as this child crosses the street. The driver almost runs him over.
Oh my God!
Drivers struck and killed 13 North Carolina children during the past 15 years.
There was a car that was not paying attention and almost hit a child.
Robin Small says in her 20 years driving buses, she's seen hundreds of drivers blow right past the bus's extended stop arm.
Texting while they're driving, on the phone, holding their dogs in their laps.
And that something has to be done.
In North Carolina, more than 3,000 drivers pass by stopped school buses every day. But officials say that cameras like this one can help identify those drivers and slow down this growing problem.
The stop arm camera. Derek Graham says it gives 3 different angles of the car involved in the violation.
Our state law requires that we be able to identify the motorist, the person that's driving that car.
Without that image, there's no case. So if 13,500 buses on the road in our state every day, why do only 400 to 500 of those have stop arm cameras? That's only 3%.
There's 2 things. The system costs about $3,000 per bus. And then the second is the manpower. It takes a fair amount of manpower to follow one of these through, to grab the image, to turn it over to law enforcement. Then it takes manpower on their part, and then the district attorney has to prosecute that.
Graham says the solution doesn't rest with the technology on the buses, but with the people breaking the law.
When you're using the stop arm camera, it's after the violation has already taken place, right? And then it's too late. If there's a child out there, once it's taken place, it's too late.
Now, knowing when the restriction begins is crucial. Anytime the bus comes to a full stop, the stop arm is completely extended and the lights are flashing. You have to stop and can't start again until the bus begins to move. Kristen?
Transparency, something the Carrboro Police and the Board of Aldermen say they're trying to create with body-worn cameras. Our Alyssa Armstrong is live at the Carrboro Police Department with the details. Alyssa?
Critics say there's nothing transparent about the policy, and the public needs to know what the police are up to.
Carrboro Police and the Board of Aldermen support the concept of using the body cameras.
If we have concerns about officers or citizens' behavior, we have created a record of that.
But media law professor Kathy Packer sees an issue with their policy.
It's not transparent if we don't get to see the videos.
ATAC says the department can't release the video if it's evidence in a criminal investigation or involves a personnel issue, saying it's the same policy for dashboard cameras as well. Critics wonder what doesn't fall into one of those categories.
If the purpose of the videos is to help us see how police work, we need to be able to see the videos.
The North Carolina Open Government Coalition says choosing not to release personnel footage is unique to North Carolina. The coalition says unless the video is from a criminal investigation, it should be released, especially if it shows police misconduct. ATAC and members of the Board of Aldermen disagree.
My own position is that they should really be very tightly guarded and should only be accessed under a court order.
ATAC's biggest concern? The videos show an officer's entire life's work for the world to see. He says releasing videos makes the officer feel like he or she isn't trusted. Critics say if that's the concern, why use the cameras at all? In Carrboro, I'm Alyssa Armstrong reporting.
The men's basketball tournament will generate $750 million for NCAA member schools. UNC's Roy Williams makes nearly $2 million per year. Duke's Coach K pulls in more than $9 million. Some people say it's time for athletes to get part of that cash. Sonny Vaccaro spent his professional life working with athletes.
Now we're in 2015. The money is off the wall.
Dressing athletes head to toe in Nike, Adidas, and Reebok gear and kickstarting the Air Jordan brand. To some, the former marketing executive is part of what created the money machine that is college sports.
Every school in America signed off on the deal. If it was illicit and if I was immoral, you shouldn't have taken our money.
Now Vaccaro is participating in the mission to get athletes a share of the wealth.
The villain here is the NCAA, not the players. The players are the unpaid labor force.
You work for a paycheck. It's an expectation of most employees. But are college athletes professionals? Should they be considered employees for coming to work?
It seems to me that the university in many ways is privileged to have these performers that are competing on behalf of the universities.
Dr. Richard Southall is a member of a nationwide coalition of university faculty members who say they're fighting for athletes' rights.
In football and men's and women's basketball on the D1 level, the pressures are just different.
Southall says the coalition wants the NCAA to be more elastic, to consider student athletes as individuals with different needs and employees who deserve a share of the profit. And some players agree. Listen to what a UNC football player told us last fall.
I think the people that, like I said, don't want us to get paid, they don't understand how much goes into being a student athlete. We're here almost 365 days. We're in the football building almost 40 hours a week. So, it's really football all the time.
40 hours per week. The crux of the problem is splitting time between the classroom and in the weight room. Is it even feasible for revenue sport athletes to be full-time students as well?
Summer's coming, but student body president Houston Summers is gearing up for fall. Our Sarah Rutherford talked to him about his goals for the next year.
Applause and a standing ovation. Student body president Houston Summers says he's grateful for the opportunity to serve because it almost didn't happen. At 11 years old, Summers developed an aggressive tumor the size of a baseball in his right brain.
It was an incredibly scary situation, being, one day literally just happy playing, running around, doing everything I could, and then next thing I know, I'm, in a hospital and laying there on an operating table getting ready to go under what would be 18 hours worth of surgery.
The experience taught Summers to take advantage of opportunities, like running for SBP.
It was this kind of seeing a need and stepping up to kind of fill that role, if you will, and taking advantage of an opportunity that I had and the platform that I had of being a student athlete, of being a non-traditional student.
Houston is 27 and played 7 seasons of professional baseball before coming to Carolina, but he says he's just like any other student and wants to be treated that way.
And just as you would walk up to a friend or text a friend and call them and say, hey man, I really don't like what's going on here, can we sit down and can we talk about it? That's what I want.
There's one other thing he wants the student body to know.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch is my favorite cereal and I absolutely love it.
You can chat with Summers about your favorite brand of cereal or anything else at Carolina Conversations and Old Well Talks, a series of open forums. Houston's hope for the series?
That we make this a relational experience and understand that, we're in this together and we're going to do our best for one another.
Houston says building community is worth more than all the applause in the world. In Chapel Hill, I'm Sarah Rutherford reporting.
Carrboro prides itself on being an environmentally friendly town. So it was no surprise when one resident decided to urge the town to promote green friendliness post-mortem. Our Jordan Black has the story.
83-year-old Ellie Kinnaird wants her green lifestyle to carry over into the afterlife. Kinnaird is a retired state senator and former Carrboro mayor. She says she wants to be laid to rest naturally.
Shroud ourselves in some sort of concrete vault makes no sense at all. We should be with the earth.
Kinnaird owns 2 plots in the old Carrboro Cemetery, a cemetery owned by the town that doesn't currently allow what she wants, a green burial. Green burials use pine boxes, which are biodegradable, rather than typical burial caskets. There are currently only 30 green burial sites in the U.S., 3 of which are in North Carolina. Diane Motzkowitz manages Pine Forest Memorial Garden in Wake Forest. This cemetery began offering green burials in 2010. She says green burials give people the ability to choose how they are remembered.
Well, I think it's important that people be allowed to do what they want to do if it's not harming anyone. I mean, which green burial doesn't.
But Carrboro officials aren't sure there is room in the budget.
If we'd need to budget more money, it might take more or less manpower, and that's some of the things that we're still looking into.
Kinnaird says that her request is small, but important.
I don't think there's any reason to not have it.
She's hopeful that Carrboro will allow her to continue her green principles. In Carrboro, I'm Jordan Black.
The Board of Aldermen has begun to study this practice and will readdress the issue sometime soon.
When workers pick up your trash, it goes to the nearest landfill to get compacted and buried. But one county in North Carolina isn't letting it just sit there. It's going green with garbage. Our AJ Nwoko has the story.
At the Catawba County landfill, trash isn't going to waste.
When you put garbage in a landfill, the microorganisms create methane.
Barry Edwards is helping to turn it into electricity.
If you've got to spend the money to capture the gas, why not do something productive with it? And that's what we chose to do, is to make electricity with it.
But just how do you make clean energy from a not so clean source?
We take about 430 tons a day of garbage, and we compact it and cover it every day and make sure we protect the environment.
Out here in the landfill, I'm literally standing on millions of tons of garbage, and all that methane from the waste is being channeled into these pipes.
We do that through a series of wells that are drilled down into the landfill.
Pull the gas to that well and bring it up to our gas station.
Pushes it into an internal combustion engine.
We pump it through generators and produce power with it.
We produce about 3 megawatts per hour.
And what could that power?
Roughly 1,400 homes.
That power is also generating about $700,000 a year back to the county. According to rules and regulations set by the EPA in 1996, All solid waste landfills of a certain size must capture methane to prevent it from going into the ozone. Catawba was the first county to put the process in place through a voluntary assistance program with the EPA. 4 other counties in the state are now capturing and converting the gas into electricity.
We just happen to be the first. We rank #1 in recycling per capita in North Carolina. We've ranked within the top 5 for the last 15 years.
In Catawba County, I'm AJ Nwoka reporting.
And this is the gift that keeps on giving. Edwards says even if no more trash goes to the landfill, they can still convert electricity from the remaining methane for more than 30 years.
Homes house adults with mental disabilities and help them to lead independent lifestyles. But funding issues have put some residents' housing status in question. Michael McGinnis reports.
Meet Matt Kelly. Kelly was born to older parents and diagnosed with high-functioning autism in his teens. He's lived in a Charlotte area adult group home for the past 18 years. But due to a lack of funding from the state, Kelly and hundreds of others like him face an uncertain future. His parents, Stephen and Joanne, are 81 and 85 years old.
I mean, if we go and they say there's no room at the group home because of funding, what street does Matt go and live under one bridge? I mean, it's scary as heck.
The funding issue comes from a 2012 bill that changed the criteria for who could receive Medicaid funding for personal care services. In 2013, the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services estimated about half of the 21,000 adults that received these services would no longer qualify. Julie Adams is a lobbyist for the ARC of North Carolina. She says state officials realize the severity of the problem and are working to find a long-term solution.
They really don't want to see these individuals who are our state's most needy and most fragile suddenly displaced from their homes.
Mark Phillips is the CEO of Autism Services of Mecklenburg County.
We've been hoping that there would be a bill put forth that we could support, but so far I'm not aware of anything.
As group home residents face an uncertain future, family members fear what might come next.
I can't imagine what would happen if the funding stops. I can't imagine.
In Charlotte, I'm Michael McGinnis reporting.
The state legislature is working on a short-term funding measure to help hold over residents.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that nearly 1 in 3 young white women tans indoors each year. Health reporter Jenny Fitter looks at why students use tanning beds despite the risks.
Take UNC sophomore and sorority member Isabel Goodwin. The cheerleader says using a tanning bed improves her appearance under the harsh lights on the court.
We kind of like to have a little color just so that we don't look washed out and completely pale.
But indoor tanning increases risk of skin cancer, including melanoma, the deadliest form. Last May, the FDA required new warnings that sun lamp products should not be used on persons under the age of 18.
I've known people that it has given cancer to, or it's been a part of it.
UNC health communication researcher Seth Knorr surveyed 700 sorority members about their indoor tanning behaviors and beliefs.
Women who were going indoor tanning were pretty aware of the risks of indoor tanning.
Knorr says his study suggests health messages should try to change perceptions about tan skin and counter myths like
it gives you a base tan that protects you from the sun. There's a lot of things like that which are essentially not true.
What is true is indoor tanning exposes people to ultraviolet radiation that damages skin and can lead to cancer. The risk is higher for those who start indoor tanning at a young age. Goodwin says she's thought about the risks.
I'm young. I'll deal with it when I'm older, I guess.
Experts say a safer way to tan indoors is to use sunless tanning products that don't expose you to harmful ultraviolet rays. In Chapel Hill, I'm Jenny Fitter reporting.
2 years ago, a lawmaker proposed a bill in the North Carolina legislature to ban indoor tanning by those younger than 18. The bill is currently in committee in the Senate.
UNC has one of the leading experts on concussion research in the country. The research team is changing attitudes about how players and coaches handle brain trauma in sports. Alexis Simmons tells us how UNC is making an impact on the lives of football players.
Elliot Smalls took a hit just like this.
He was a pretty big guy, and when he hits, the side of my face goes numb, and I couldn't really see anything for a couple seconds.
Smalls started playing football at the age of 4. From Pee Wee to high school to college ball at Chowan, nothing has stopped him, even a concussion.
Coach asked me, was I okay? I said yes, kind of, and then just went back in the field.
More than 50% of concussions in high school athletes aren't reported. Kevin Guskowicz is a professor and co-director of the Matthew Gefeller Sport-Related Traumatic Brain Injury Research Center at UNC.
Concussions are sort of like snowflakes. There's no two alike.
So this is our balance machine.
Guskowicz and his team use concussion assessment tools to learn how to better identify and manage concussions.
In fact, there are no more concussions occurring today on our playing fields than there was a decade ago or 15 years ago.
There are just more being reported. In 2013, there were 8 fatalities directly related to football, and they were all among high school athletes.
So the younger athlete, we believe, based on the science, also has a more vulnerable brain.
At the center, research coordinators like Corey Rodrigo perform baseline memory and balance tests on incoming UNC football players.
So I want you to tell me the months of the year in reverse order.
They also embed sensors in football helmets of college and high school players to record their impacts.
You can go back, look at video, and also look at the sensors and kind of piece together, maybe this is someone who always leads with their head and we just need to change their tackling form.
Smalls now encourages players to always seek help because
that could have been my downfall and that could be the next player's downfall.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Alexis Simmons reporting.
North Carolina was the 21st state to implement concussion laws for student athletes. Players have to receive written medical clearance to return to play, and each school is required to develop an emergency action plan.
Be sure to check out Carolina Week online at carolinaweek.org. Connect with us online by liking the Carolina Week Facebook page and following us on Twitter at Carolina Week UNC.
North Carolina artist and UNC alum Patrick Dougherty is known for sticking around. CB Cotton explains.
Dougherty's sculpture, crafted out of sticks, is the perfect play place for little Henry.
It's really the ideal maze for someone his age. He loves to play hide and seek.
Each year, groups commission Dougherty to create environmental works made of wood, branches, saplings, and twigs. This one here is made of red maple sapling and sweet gum. He completed the sculpture in 3 weeks with the help of local volunteers. Interim director of the North Carolina Botanical Garden, Jonathan House, says the creativity behind the sculptures is what he loves most.
And you can make of them what you want. They are either ghost-like figures or they're castles. It all helps people understand that nature turns into whatever we want it to.
And for Henry, this is nature he will always enjoy. In Chapel Hill, I'm CB Cotton reporting.
He is precious, and those stick sculptures look like something out of a movie.
No, they really did. They were so intricate. You know, I really think it's great that they're combining nature with art, also just to educate the public about what's going on.
I agree. I don't think I've ever been to the North Carolina Botanical Gardens, but maybe we'll have to make a trip sometime soon. Okay, that does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching. Good night.